This is a quick response to Gary's video. I can't remember what it's called, Gary. It's something about Fluck it. It's about life being a ride, and which I'm kind of taking to be a sort of a riposte to that Bill Hicks sketch, where he paints life as a roller coaster ride. And you've got to remember, you know, it's just a ride. It's just a ride. He says it's great, and I've always seen it as kind of positive, you know, because he was a bit of a Buddhist, I think, Bill Hicks. And I've always heard that sketch in a really positive light. And found, you know, a weird kind of comfort in it, strangely enough. And your video was a really nice bracing antidote to that feeling of comfort, which I always enjoy. But yeah, it's a ride, and you don't fucking like it. You know, here we are. You find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, or at least, you know, on the front seat of some kind of ride at Disneyland, cast into a world you didn't ask to be born into, and it's doing all this really horrible shit, and people are being sick around you and being thrown out of the cars and dying under the wheels and all this stuff, and you're supposed to smile because your picture's being taken all the time, you know, and it is a weird one. It definitely is a weird one. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole raft of things come up, so there'll probably be a bunch of videos this one, but I'll try and keep this one really reasonably short. I mean, certainly one of the things that I find, and I don't know if it's something you ever feel, Gary, but yeah, certainly, you know, I feel just this obligation to smile thing. You know, you come around the last bend in the Great Hulk roller coaster ride at Islands of Adventure in Orlando. You come around the last bend, and there's two cameras above the track, and they take your picture. But after you've been on the same ride a couple of times, and I've been on that ride probably a dozen times, you know exactly where the camera is. So you know exactly how to kind of arrange yourself in your seat so you look suitably comfortable, suitably relaxed, and you know where to look, you know what I mean? So you might look at the camera and smile, or you might pretend to be asleep, or, you know, people do different things. And I've got a little collection of photographs of me and my family doing different poses for the last bend in the Hulk roller coaster. But that idea of composing yourself for the camera at the end, or towards the end, or at some point on this really shitty ride. The Hulk roller coaster ride is brilliant, by the way. But I'm talking about the ride that you described, the ride of life. I mean, I can certainly feel that. You know, my wife tells me I'm optimistic. My wife isn't optimistic, she's very pessimistic. And she tells me that I really get on her nerves, I think, actually, because I'm so fucking optimistic and up a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, I can certainly feel part of that as a composing of myself for the camera, you know what I mean? As if God or somebody, or my ancestors who all died so that I can live, or something, you know. I can kind of feel myself, composing myself for that camera. Or the camera of my kids, you know what I mean? So they don't think I've brought them into a really shitty world, really. Then I can say, oh look, it's great, look how happy I am. It's great, you'll enjoy your life too, behind the wheel of the large automobile. So it's partly that. But it's partly that thing about, I don't know if it doesn't make any sense to you, but you know, when you buy something from the shop, particularly if you buy it on impulse, you know, you buy a music system or something like that, and you take it back home, and then you discover it's a real piece of crap. You know, you don't like it, it doesn't work properly, it's a really dysfunctional piece of crap. Or a car, I've done this with cars several times, bought cars on impulse, which is really stupid. In fact, I bought one on eBay last week. But you don't want to feel stupid, you don't even want to feel stupid to yourself. So you kind of tell people, and you tell yourself, well, it's a great car, this is fantastic. Look at this, look how smoothly the shift works. Look, it's fantastic. Yeah, that rattling noise is brilliant. Yeah, that really loud roaring noise from the exhaust, that's supposed to be there. So a throaty roar is that. That's not a hole in the exhaust. So it's all that kind of, just kind of not justification exactly, but kind of convincing yourself that everything's brilliant, but it's not really. So there's certainly some of that going on. And I certainly find that with regard to life, you know, when my wife and I have these discussions where she's saying how awful everything is, and how the animal kingdom is just dreadful. She can't watch Discovery shows, you know, with antelopes having their throats torn out by jaguars. She can't watch that. And she holds her face in her hands, and And I find myself adopting the opposite position, you know what I mean, even though I don't entirely feel it. So it is odd, that. It is odd. I don't know what the solution is. And there isn't a solution. I guess that's the whole point. I mean, I can't go along with your benevolent Hitler hypothesis, which I assume was a stalking horse for comment rather than anything else. This idea that people who enjoy this life, like the way I pretend to, should just fucking get on with it and exterminate everyone who's negative about it, and let the Shane Dawsons take over. I mean, yes, there is, yeah. As I say, I assume you're not entirely serious about that. Maybe you are, what do I know? I mean, my reluctance to that would be my reluctance for that would be that I'm not convinced that anyone's that sure about it. I've got to feel that most of us have got some kind of a dark fear at the centre of it, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. And probably that's what motivates some of the really shitty behaviour that people do, I think. You know, the excesses of capitalism that you yourself talk around, Gary, which I completely support, and the excesses of exploitation of people, of other sentient creatures, exploitation of the planet more broadly. I think, I don't know if it's a fact, but I suspect a lot of that comes out of the same place that those feelings of get me the fuck off this ride come from. You know what I mean? If you can't get off the ride, at least, I don't know, it seems to be part of that, you know. Yeah, so I'm just not convinced there are this other bunch of people who genuinely think this is all fantastic. You know, maybe there is, I don't know. Yeah, this other, I should probably stop there really. But I also had this image of a button. I don't know, I'm sure you've had this image as well. It's a big red button that sits in front of you, and at any point you can just press the button and the ride just fucking stops, you know, the whole wheels grind to a halt. Come on, please, let's go this way. The wheels grind to a halt and everybody gets off the fucking ride, you know. That's it, the button is pressed. Psychology ends on the planet, maybe even biology ends, and everything just goes back to good old chemistry and physics and maths. Yeah, I think a lot of the time I would be very tempted to press that button. Well, what would hold me back, I guess, is several things, obviously. Firstly, sentiment. I can't avoid my own sentimentality, nor would I want to, really. And whilst I wouldn't particularly worry too much about my own extinction, I would worry about the extinction of the people around me. It would bother me that the people that I love, and the dogs that I love, would not be around anymore. That would bother me. Shouldn't do, maybe, but it would. Also, the fact that I might be fucking wrong would bother me. You know what I mean? I might be wrong. I might be. I might just be wrong. So that would stay my hand on the button. And also just a kind of glimmer of hope. And I know hope isn't big on your vocabulary there, Gary, and I can understand why. But just. Just a kind of hope that the ride takes us somewhere else eventually, you know. The ride takes us somewhere else. If you can't, I don't think we can think our way out of this, but maybe we can evolve our way out of it somehow, you know what I mean? Maybe there's just a slight glimmer of hope that maybe some creature that we evolve into, or that some other creature evolves into, maybe we just die out naturally and cockroaches take over and they have a fantastic time of it, and that's fine. So some glimmer of hope that we can evolve our way out of it. Yes. Cheerful thoughts for a Sunday morning here in Cheshire. Nice blue sky. Big piles of cow shit.